Welcome to Cheater Confessions. Let's get started with today's story. My name's Martin, and I've always believed that if something works, you don't fix it. That's how Mandy and I started out. Practical, focused, no games. We made a plan before we even got engaged. She wanted to be a stay-at-home mom one day, not because she had to, but because she wanted to be there, with the kids, with the house, with the rhythm of daily life. Me? I had a solid job in software consulting. Long hours, sometimes travel, but good money. So we agreed. I'd handle the grind, and she'd handle the home. Simple. For the first few years, it actually worked. I'd get home late and dinner would be warm, laundry folded, little notes sometimes on the fridge. She smiled a lot back then. But people don't change overnight. It's gradual, like slow erosion. And for us, it started after our second kid, Jonah, was born. That's when the teasing started. At first, it was light stuff. I'd fumble with the baby carrier or mix up the kids' bath towels, and she'd roll her eyes, say, "Martin, how are you so smart at work and so useless at home?" Then laugh. I laughed too. Why wouldn't I? It didn't feel like a big deal. But it didn't stop there. We'd be at dinner with her sister Claire, and Mandy would bring up the time I put Jonah's diaper on backward. "I swear," she'd say, grinning, "he needs a manual for parenting." Claire would laugh like it was a comedy routine. I'd smile, sure, but something in me shifted. Quietly. Nothing dramatic. Just this dull hum in the background. Like I was slowly being rewritten into a character in Mandy's stories. The clueless husband, the guy who couldn't handle his own kids, even when I was working 50-hour weeks to keep us afloat. It was too early then to call it disrespect. But the weight of her jokes? It was starting to stack. The real shift happened at our daughter's 5th birthday party. It was a backyard thing. Streamers, balloons, a rented bounce house, the whole suburban checklist. I spent the morning hauling tables from the garage and setting up folding chairs while Mandy iced cupcakes and coordinated with her mom. By noon, the place was packed. Kids running around, parents chatting in clusters, paper plates stacked high with sugar. It looked like a perfect Saturday from the outside. Then it happened. I was carrying a tray of juice boxes when Mandy's voice cut through the backyard noise. She was near the patio table with 3 other moms, all her friends from the kids' school, and I caught my name. "Martin tries, he really does," she said, loud enough for half the yard to hear. "But he loaded the dishwasher last week like he was solving a crime scene." Laughter. One of the moms chimed in. "Oh no, not another Martin moment." More laughter. Mandy grinned and went on. "I swear, he asked me if shampoo goes on before or after conditioner, and that was last week." I paused near the cooler, holding those juice boxes like an idiot. The laughter didn't bother me. Not really. What got me was the comfort in her voice, like she'd told these stories before, like they were inside jokes I wasn't even part of anymore. Later, when most of the guests had left and we were stacking chairs, I said, "Hey, maybe don't do the whole Martin's clueless thing in front of a crowd next time." She looked surprised. "What are you talking about?" "Just saying, I don't need to be the punchline every time there's an audience." She smirked. "Oh, come on. It's not that deep." People laughed. Exactly. That night, I didn't sleep much. It wasn't rage or anything like that. Just a growing awareness. I was losing something, some kind of respect. And once it's gone, getting it back isn't easy. It wasn't long after the birthday party that the jokes started bouncing back at me. I took Jonah to his pediatric checkup one morning. Mandy had a yoga class and asked if I could handle it. Easy enough. I packed the diaper bag, grabbed snacks, brought the immunization records. Felt pretty good about it. At the clinic, while I was checking in, the nurse gave me a look. Not mean, just amused. "You're Martin, right?" she asked, flipping through the file. "Yeah," she chuckled. "Your wife says you're brave for flying solo today." I forced a smile. "It's not that hard." "Oh, I know. She's just funny. Always cracking jokes about your dad's skills." I didn't reply. Back in the car, Jonah fell asleep in his car seat, and I just sat there, staring out the windshield. That line, "cracking jokes about your dad's skills," played on a loop in my head. It wasn't just between us anymore. Mandy had branded me clumsy dad, helpless husband, and people believed it. 2 days later, her brother Scott came by to help me install shelves in the garage. We were measuring the studs when he tossed me a level and said, "Sure you know how to use that? Mandy says tools aren't really your thing." I looked at him, not joking, just looked. He shrugged, tried to laugh it off. "Just teasing, man." Sure. That night at dinner, I finally said something. "Mandy," I said, "you ever notice people are starting to repeat your jokes about me?" She kept cutting Jonah's chicken nuggets. "Like who?" "Claire, Scott, the nurse at the clinic. You're building this character of me and passing it around like a party favor." She rolled her eyes. "Okay, now you're being dramatic." "No, I'm telling you what's happening. You can ignore it or you can hear it, but it's happening." She didn't answer. And that silence? It told me she wasn't listening. About a week after that dinner, Mandy hosted a girls' night at the house. Wine, snacks, a movie. I didn't mind. I usually stayed in the garage or upstairs when her friends came over, gave them space. I was on the couch in the upstairs den, finishing emails, when I heard my name again. "Mandy, how does Martin survive without you?" One of the women laughed. Mandy's voice followed. "Barely. I swear, if I died tomorrow, he'd probably feed the kids peanut butter for breakfast, lunch, and dinner." Another round of laughter. Then, "I caught him using body wash on Ava's hair last week. Said it all smelled the same to him." They were howling. I wasn't. I shut my laptop, walked down the stairs halfway, and just listened. Not a word in defense. Not a single, "he tries" or "he's learning." Just roast after roast. I didn't interrupt. I didn't embarrass her in front of her friends. I waited. When they finally left, I was in the kitchen, wiping down counters that weren't dirty. She walked in. "You okay?" "Are you?" She narrowed her eyes. "What's that supposed to mean?" "You spent 30 minutes clowning me like I'm a sitcom character. I'm not your stand-up material, Mandy." She sighed. "Martin, it was jokes. Just jokes. You take everything so personally." "I take respect personally." She leaned against the fridge. "You're overreacting." I shook my head. "No, I've just been underreacting for too long." She opened her mouth, then closed it. Without another word, she turned and walked out of the room. That night, I packed a bag. Nothing dramatic. Just a duffel with clothes and my charger. I didn't slam doors, didn't leave a note, just walked out and drove. I checked into a hotel 2 exits away. Slept like a man who hadn't slept in weeks. The next morning, my phone buzzed. It was Mandy. "Are you seriously pouting? Grow up." I stared at the screen. That wasn't concern. That was dismissal. Like I'd taken a break from folding laundry, not walked out of the house. I typed back, "I need some space. Don't text me again tonight." Then I turned my phone off and tossed it onto the nightstand. I stayed at the hotel for 3 nights. The first was silence. The second, I got 2 texts from Mandy, both variations of, "You're being ridiculous." The third night, nothing. I thought maybe she was done trying. Then my phone rang the next morning. Unknown number. I almost let it go to voicemail, but something told me to answer. "Martin?" It was Gina, Mandy's best friend. I sat up in bed. "Yeah? I know this is weird, but I think you should hear this. Mandy's a mess. She's not going to say it, but I've never seen her like this." "Did she ask you to call me?" "No, she has no idea I'm doing this. But she's walking around like she's fine. Meanwhile, she hasn't eaten in a day and keeps snapping at everyone. I told her she pushed too far." I stayed quiet. "She really didn't mean it to go where it did," Gina continued. "But I think she finally gets it. She's been telling these stories for years like they're harmless, and now she's realizing they weren't." I exhaled. She kept saying, "I didn't think he'd actually leave." "That's the problem," I said. "She thought I never would." There was a pause. "Look," Gina said, "I'm not taking sides. But if you care, and I know you do, maybe don't wait too long to talk. She's not great at apologies, but I promise you, this one's real." When we hung up, I sat on the edge of the bed, staring at the carpet for a long time. Gina didn't owe me that call. She could have stayed out of it. But she didn't. That afternoon, I got a text from Mandy. It was short, different from the rest. No jokes, no sarcasm, just, "I'm sorry, I didn't see it until now." I didn't reply, not right away. But I left the hotel that night and drove home. Not because she asked me to, because I needed to look her in the eye. When I walked through the front door, Mandy was standing in the kitchen like she'd been frozen there for hours. She didn't say anything at first, just looked at me. No glare, no eye roll, no smirk. "I wasn't sure if you'd actually come back," she said quietly. "I wasn't sure either," I replied. I dropped my bag by the wall and sat at the table. She followed, slow, cautious, like approaching an animal that might bolt. There was a beat of silence. Then she said, "I'm sorry." Her voice didn't shake, but it didn't pretend to be strong either. "I thought it was funny," she went on, "telling those stories, making people laugh. I thought if I made fun of the little things, people would see us as normal, relatable. But I never asked if you thought it was funny." I leaned back in the chair. "I don't need praise every day. I just don't want to be the joke at every table." She nodded. "You're right." That surprised me. Not the apology, but the way she said it, like she'd already argued it out with herself and lost. "I kept thinking you'd never say anything," she added, "that you didn't care. You always looked fine, smiled. So I kept going." "Yeah, well," I said, "I got tired of pretending it was fine." She looked up at me. "Can we start over?" she asked. "I mean, not pretend like none of it happened, but just reset. Do this different." I didn't answer right away. I needed to believe she meant it. Then she pulled out her phone and said, "Look." She opened her notes app. It was a list, titled, "No More Public Shots at Martin." Under it, no jokes about parenting, no dumb husband stories, no mocking in front of friends or family. "I've been adding to it every time I think of something I shouldn't have said." That got me. I nodded. "Okay, let's see what starting over looks like." She reached across the table, rested her hand on mine. No big speech, just that. We didn't say much the rest of the night, but for the first time in a while, the silence felt good. Change didn't come in a wave. It came in small things. A few days later, we had friends over for dinner, just two couples we'd known for years. Normally, I'd brace myself, wait for the story, the punchline, the usual routine. But that night, Mandy didn't go there. She asked me about work, let me finish a sentence without cutting in. When someone joked about husbands never helping with bedtime, she smiled and said, "Martin's actually been a rock with the kids lately. I've been lucky." And that was it. No wink, no backhanded jab, just a sentence, straight. After they left, I was loading the dishwasher when she walked over, handed me a glass, and said, "I could tell you were waiting for it. I saw it in your face." I didn't deny it. "I'm trying," she said, "not just to fix what I did, but to see you better." It wasn't a grand moment, but it landed. Over the next few weeks, I kept noticing things. No more rolling her eyes when I offered to help. No more redoing tasks I'd already done. If I dressed Jonah wrong, she fixed it without commentary. If I cooked breakfast, she ate it without correcting the ingredients. And one morning, I found a note on my steering wheel before heading to work. "Thank you for showing up, even when I didn't see it." The thing is, I never wanted perfection. I didn't need some fairy tale reversal. I just needed respect, recognition. We're not perfect now. We still bicker. We still mess up. But the difference is, now when I speak, she listens. And when she laughs, it's with me, not at me. Funny how people say relationships are built on love. That's only part of it. The rest is built on the things you don't laugh off, the things you fight for when no one's clapping. Looking back, I'm glad I left that night. Not to hurt her, but to make sure I didn't keep hurting myself. And when I came back, it wasn't to go back to the way things were. It was to build something better, together. Thank you for watching.